How do we truly end racism? Well, many people talk about how you do it, but in reality, there's really only one way of actually doing it. I've made many videos on BLM and racism as a whole. If you go to my playlist called Life and World Rants, scroll down, you'll see these videos right here. I've made more than this, but these are like the prime ones where I talk about different things involving racism or BLM. And you can get a lot of my viewpoints there. But we're going to do a summary in this video, basically explaining why racism exists and how do we stop it. The truth is, there's actually only one way of doing it, and many people don't know what that way is, but I do. Before doubting me, which is usually for no reason, sit down and actually listen to what I'm going to say. Will racism get better or worse? Well, if we continue on our current trajectory, as we're already seeing, worse. The anti-white racism and constant attacks, as well as victim complexes from black people and white attacking from SJWs, yes, it will keep getting worse, which is what's been happening the last 7 or so years. There's only one way to make it better. SJWs think their actions are taking down racism, but in reality, they're encouraging it. They literally agree with segregation. They support and agree with the mainstream media's brainwashing and fear-mongering against white people. They're also manipulated by the corrupt school system. They talk about racism every day as if it's around every corner and force it into people's minds. They teach their kids to hate white people, and for white kids to grow up hating themselves. SJWs have been led to believe all this by the mainstream media and the school system, and the media used Donald Trump as their scapegoat. But even look at the past. I would say it was around the 70s when blacks were finally getting their liberation. And since then, especially through the 90s and early 2000s, blacks and whites were basically seen by society as equal. It didn't get really bad until the early 2010s. Why? Is it because racism is so horrible? Is it because racism is increasing? Not at all. It's because SJWs brought it back by claiming all blacks are victims and all whites are attackers, and even having the mainstream media supporting this idea by lying about white crime, lying about black crime, and lying about police, and various other things. Racism is never going to fully die. There's always going to be racist people. But before the SJW movement is when people were the most accepting, not the least. The lies of the media and BLM are also fueling the racism. The facts are that black on black crime is the highest, and white on black crime is the lowest. Yet BLM only riots or protests when it's white on black? This fuels the lying narrative that all whites are evil, despite statistics showing the opposite of this. Now, if you're wondering why black on black crime is so high, as well as crime from black people in general, only 13% of the population but committing more than half of all the crimes, it's because of their culture. Any psychologist will tell you that it's not systemic racism causing these issues. It is, in fact, their upbringing. There's so many black kids growing up in fatherless homes, and as a result of having no fatherly role models, ending up with bad people, drugs, gangs, etc. Why is this? Because blacks also have the highest stat for cheating, which causes wives to kick out their husbands. I know there's many other factors behind this, but in general, these sorts of issues can be resolved, but SJWs are too busy blaming white people for stuff we didn't even do. Most victims of police shootings are white, yet blacks are called the victims. It's dishonest narratives like this and many others that cause a racial divide and has restarted the race war the last 10 or so years, and SJWs wanted this. We must become a colorblind society, and we must acknowledge the real stats, and not the fake ones that are created by the media or BLM. As long as we ignore the truth, the race war will continue and get worse. We must stop talking about it. We must stop teaching our kids they will grow up to be superior or inferior. We must become colorblind. We must stop telling blacks they are born victims or that whites are born privileged. This causes division and fuels the race war. We must accept all people as just people. It is SJWs who want to bring segregation back. They do this by constantly separating us by skin color, calling blacks victims, calling whites evil, saying whites aren't allowed to do anything from other cultures, etc. SJWs bring up skin color every second of every single day. They believe the way to end racism is to bring up history over and over, when in reality all this is doing is reminding people over and over and keeping it alive. The reality is, the only way to kill it is to leave it in the past where it belongs and move on. You can't change the past, so there's no point in bringing it up, and I've said this on multiple occasions. You cannot change slavery, so constantly talking about slavery does nothing. I agree it's important to inform people about it for the purposes of education, but you don't use a past that you can't change when you're trying to change present day. That does not make any sense. I've been saying this for years, and even Morgan Freeman agrees with me.
Black History Month you find ridiculous. Why? You're going to relegate my history to a month?
He's right.
Oh, come on. What do you do with yours? Which month is White History Month? Well, come on. Tell me.
Well, I'm Jewish.
White people don't have a history month, but yeah.
Okay. Which month is Jewish History Month?
Jews don't have one either.
There isn't one.
Oh. Why not? Do you want?
By the way, just speaking of which, as a side note, just even having these history months or like appreciation months or days or whatever is fucking dumb, because all you're doing, like always, is actually reinforcing that this particular person is special or inferior, superior, whatever, and you're not just doing what you should be doing, of just saying that all people are people, because you don't want people to be viewed as people. You want people to be viewed as a political pawn or a victim or something. And again, that's why you're pushing the existence of racism. You're not pushing it away.
What?
No.
I don't either. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism?
Stop talking about it.
Told you. This is what I have been saying for fucking years. Stop talking about it. The only way to stop racism is to stop fucking talking about it. Let me tell you something. Kids are not born racist. Okay? When your kids grow up and they even become just 8 or 9 years old, and they start seeing themselves as different from their black classmate or their brown classmate, that's not created, you stupid SJWs, that's not created because they're white and were born with privilege. It happens because society, the mainstream media, their parents, and you fuckers tell them that they are evil for being born white. And then you tell their black classmates that their life is going to be hard their whole life because they were born black. And then you put the fucking thoughts in their head and they grow up like you fuckers. Stop talking about it. Racism will die when society becomes colorblind.
I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Exactly my point. Stop pointing out people's skin color. It's not just for black people, it's for white people too, it's for brown people. Stop pointing out our fucking skin colors. Stop dividing us because you want white people to continue being the attackers when we're not.
And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man. I know you as Mike Wallace, you know me as Morgan Freeman.
Absolutely true. He's absolutely 100% right. And so am I. And to build on this, by the way, to really prove how right I am, I made a video a while back that I haven't uploaded yet, and I was going to upload it as a separate video, but I think it'll work better if I attach it to this one. It's basically where I explain that the whole reason why the N-word still exists is because black people keep saying it. It's the exact same mentality of kids growing up believing that they're either victims or attackers because society keeps pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it into their heads. That's what SJWs are doing. They don't want to be colorblind. They want to keep seeing color because they're fucking racist. And this video I made is in the exact same merit. The fact that, just like racism, the N-word is never gonna die either because you keep fucking saying it. Here's that video. Unpopular fact. Yes, I call it an unpopular fact because, let's face it, most unpopular opinions are actually just facts that stupid people don't like. But anyway, here's one that you may want to hold on to your hats for. Black people are the reason why the N-word is said so much. You might say, no, it's because of racist white people. Actually, it's not. Racial terms, especially that one since it was said originally for one of the worst reasons imaginable, should die off. Black people going around saying, only we can say it, and then saying it to each other over and over and over and over again, does two major things. One, it constantly puts it in other people's head who overhear it, and two, it makes other people, like anybody who's not black, think that it's okay to say, or at least sing along to, or read along to, because they're constantly hearing black people say it to each other. Is there any reason, like, I understand black people think that they are the only ones who are allowed to say it to each other, but just because you're allowed to doesn't make it good, it doesn't make it positive, and it doesn't mean you should either. Is there any reason why you, like, want to? The fact of the matter is, you constantly give power to it and give it meaning, give it an existence because you say it to each other so much. You should actually want the word to die. You know, people are not born growing up hearing this word and being told that it's okay. They believe it's okay because they constantly overhear it being said, between black people. The truth is, the word exists, the word is said, and the word, it lives on even though it shouldn't, because you are constantly saying it to each other when you really should just ignore its existence completely if you truly want its meaning, power, and just overall existence on planet Earth in the English language to disappear. But let's face it, you don't really want that, do you?